cryptocurrency, and David Sachs, AI and cryptos are. The day has been marked by the creation of the first ever United States crypto reserve. David Sachs announcing that on X, he wrote, "The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the federal government that was forfeited as part of a criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceeding. This means it will not cost taxpayers a dime. The U.S. will not sell any Bitcoin deposited into the reserve. It will be kept as a store of value. The reserve is like a digital Fort Knox for cryptocurrency, often called digital gold." I'm going to risk now a moment that could be reminiscent of Katie Couric and Matt Lauer on the Today Show, asking what is the internet. I'm going to risk now a moment of not pretending like I'm an expert on something that I know nothing about. Every time I talk to an expert on cryptocurrency, I find myself feeling like I understand it less. You saw him flashed on your screen. I decided I'd bring in one of the smartest people I know. His intelligence matches the bow tie. The physical appearance and the mental acuity are in synchronicity. It is Jeffrey Tucker of the Brownstone Institute. Jeffrey, I happen to think I'm not alone. I do understand that cryptocurrency is not legal tender, but can be used like legal tender, like the US dollar. And every form of currency, be it gold, the dollar, or crypto, requires the faith of everyone involved to believe in that currency. But help me understand, what is the backing of cryptocurrency? The dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. What backs cryptocurrency?
Well, you certainly know how to ask questions. The important piece of the technology here is the blockchain. And I have to say that I have been watching for 10 years prior to the creation of Bitcoin, waiting for a digital money to come along, and they kept failing, every one of them. And they kept failing because they were proprietary products. They were owned by a single company. The websites would get hacked. The reproduction and scams were all over the place, and nobody could really come up with it. And what happened in 2009 with the white paper and then the deployment of Bitcoin in 2010 was the innovation of this thing called the blockchain, which is a distributed system that everybody can look at, that runs on a protocol that is just a brilliant keeper of records of ownership. That's what it does. Now, you can go back to, yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say, so that blockchain, I'm just going to follow along with you so I understand. That is basically how we ensure that there is no counterfeit within cryptocurrency. You can authenticate every Bitcoin or piece of cryptocurrency by tracking its history of transactions through blockchain. Is that correct, Jeffrey?
That's more or less correct. It's a method for deciding who owns what, or the difference between mine and thine, and it prevents double spending. So, and if you think about it, we talk about this as an innovation, and it is, but the need for record keeping and assignment of property tiles dates back to as far as recorded history. So we used to do it on papyrus. Then we came up with vellum, and that is what led to the Medicis and the invention of double entry bookkeeping. And then we got paper, and the ubiquity of paper in the 19th century. Then in the 1970s, we came up with databases, and that was a brilliant thing, and that set off another technological revolution. Though the invention of blockchain as another method for doing essentially what papyrus did, essentially what vellum did, was brilliant because it adapted record-keeping technology to the digital age, and it was the first time anything like that had been done. So, Will, if I could just extend on that slightly and say, there's a lot of focus on Bitcoin, but in a sense, that's just a name for something. What matters is that this record-keeping technology called blockchain needs a token to go with it. And the very first token was Bitcoin, and therefore it's got a lot of network effects and a lot of high status and a lot of security associated with it. But it could be under any name and have many different properties. It becomes a programmable token that's related to this underlying technology called blockchain. Thank you for letting me explain this, because I think too often people think it's some mysterious new weird thing. It's not. It's an old-fashioned need with a new digital solution.
Well, I'm glad you explained it. Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to tell everybody watching at home and everybody in the control room, I'm getting time keys. I don't care because I have to understand this. So I'm blowing out the show, Jeffrey, so that we can understand this together. I get blockchain. Help me understand another mystery for me, though. How do you create a cryptocurrency? So the United States dollar is printed. At one time, it literally was physically printed. Now it can be expanded by the Federal Reserve on the ledger sheet, right? Issue new bonds. And that's part of the complaint a lot of people have, that the Federal Reserve can print new dollars and water down the value of my dollar. But what is the end result? When you trace back all the blockchain transactions and the tokens on top of it, how do you create a Bitcoin? Like, how do you ensure the market's not flooded with new ones? I know they do a thing called mining, but it honestly escapes my understanding.
Mining is nothing other than settling transactions. So the key to these tokens is that they're both a means of exchange, like a payment, the thing that you exchange, and the system of settling transactions built into the same technology. The creation rate is a very critical feature of these things. They are strictly governed according to a protocol. So they are distributed first to the people who volunteer processing power to make the settlements work. It's a brilliant technology. First time I understood it, it was the moment, I think in early 2013, when I finally understood that the number of Bitcoins you could create is strictly limited. I thought, strictly limited? That's amazing. That's an improvement over the dollar, obviously.
Okay, last question though. Bitcoin, and I keep using Bitcoin because it's a little bit like Coke for soft drinks, right? It's the brand name that everybody understands, that it's cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is often, the enthusiasts of cryptocurrencies are people who are, I think, first adopters on technology often, and those who are skeptical of centralized government. Those seem to be the two most power centers of cryptocurrency. If you're skeptical, as I know you are, Jeffrey, of centralized government, are you concerned hearing about a reserve being created by the central government today, David Sachs? I mean, they're creating a Bitcoin and crypto reserve, and what you like about this is it's decentralized. So does it concern you to see now the federal government here taking a big position in the valuation of any cryptocurrency?
From my point of view, this is not ideally what I'd like. What I'd like is an end to the war on cryptocurrency and an end to the war on Bitcoin that began in 2013. There's been so much carnage along the way all these years. So the fact that the federal government now has a stake in this, it's sort of giving it legitimacy. Maybe it's not the solution I would have first picked, but I'm just glad that it's a symbol of an end on the war on cryptocurrency, which began, as I say, in 2013, and it's been painful to watch, and so much carnage along the way, so many businesses destroyed, so many lives destroyed. So in that sense, this is kind of a big day, if only that it's a clean stop to the war on cryptocurrency.
It legitimizes it. It legitimizes it as an official currency. Listen, Jeffrey, I understand more than when we began to talk. I can honestly say that. I will not pretend I fully understand just yet, and all I can hope is the same for the audience. I hope you understand more than when we began this conversation. Jeffrey Tucker of the Brownstone Institute, thank you so much. All right, the president has